A fascinating recent article by austrolib in Seeking Alpha explored how the gold-silver ratio could once again hit 15:1. Today we explore these arguments in favour of such a big move in the gold-silver ratio, so let's dive on in. Now, this channel provides global macro insights and champions the notions of sound money, so do consider subscribing. Silver is an incredibly rare metal which remains undervalued against its big brother gold. This is incredible considering the range of ways in which silver can be applied and the fact that its mined rate is around 8:1 of that of gold. Moreover, the much silver used in industrial production is used, scrapped and never recycled. If we examine the historical gold-silver ratio, we can see a period of enormous stability where silver enjoyed clear status as a monetary metal. Banker Ernest Said was sent to the US to bribe Congress and demonetize silver in 1872. The Coinage Act of 1873, or Crime of 1873, eliminated the free coinage of silver, which allowed US citizens to freely convert silver into coins, but it also removed various silver coins from circulation. The impact was to dramatically reduce the money supply and generate a depression and drive the US towards gold standard, linking paper currency to gold. Since then, silver has only twice enjoyed a return to such a high ratio against gold. On both of these occasions, it was when CPI inflation ran hot here and here. So what do these periods have in common according to austrolib? Well, that it is a period of high monetary demand for silver, a period where currencies were rapidly losing a high percentage of value each year, triggering a rush towards real money. Given that money is half of all transactions, it is one of the strongest forms of demand. Here we can see the current breakdown of the different categories of silver demand. Previously, we've investigated the high and growing investment demand for silver, yet this is a form of speculative rather than monetary demand. Instead, monetary demand is to use and undertake monetary transactions and use silver as a means of exchange. But monetary demand for silver is absent due to Gresham's law, which of course states that bad money forces out good money. Or to put it another way, that overvalued fiat currency forces out undervalued real money. Just consider that if you received a paper dollar and a silver dollar, which would you then go out to actually spend and which would you actually wish to hoard? I think the answer is obvious to all. And so the complete demonetization of silver from coins in 1964 has consequently seen monetary demand for silver being forced to zero. As economist John Exter said, a cardinal rule of international finance is pay more attention to what central bankers or governments do than what they say. As central bankers and the IMF continue to hold gold, it tells us that monetary demand for gold still persists in a part centralized format. Yet the limited silver reserves held by nations remain comparatively small, as we can see here, or for the Fed here. And so what if the dollar begins to fall precipitously in value? Well, the dollar as a real money substitute will face progressively greater and greater dilution of its value, and the biggest consequence could be that in the presence of rising stock markets and precious metals prices, that the demand to hold domestic currency balances could fall to zero. Eventually, this could cause the dollar gold value to zero, or in other words, send gold to infinity. This is the potential hyperinflationary scenario. But if the gold value is impossible to define, it will also be impossible for gold to act as a means of exchange for small everyday transactions for groceries and other essentials. And as many of you have pointed out in the comments previously, so few people actually own gold, that gold would be an entirely imperfect means of exchange. Yet silver, and particularly old junk silver, is far more common and is a far more acceptable means of exchange in a potential doomsday scenario. In such circumstance, the monetary demand for silver would soar dramatically, and we'd see an over 5x reduction in the gold-silver ratio. Such a scenario would then likely fit with the potential for central banks and the governments to buy silver, as we explored in this video. And so if monetary demand returned to silver and we once again saw that 15-to-1 ratio, what would that look like in US dollar currency values? Well, at $2,000 gold, it would give rise to $133 silver. $5,000 gold would give rise to $333 silver. $10,000 gold would give rise to $666 silver. And so how likely is this to happen? Well, it remains the potential doomsday scenario. And of course, a complete loss of control of the monetary system would be catastrophic for our elites. It would be the last thing they would possibly ever want to happen. A complete monetary meltdown, which would see silver restored as informal legal tender and an inability to enforce the surveillance state. From this perspective, and from the perspective of reintroducing sound money, perhaps such a breakdown would be desirable. Yet the social consequences, of course, would be profound for those not prepared for such a scenario. Then there's also the potential implications for cryptocurrencies, which would appear to do very well in such a circumstance, providing, of course, electricity is still available. In my eyes, there appears to be other means by which silver could super spike to a high gold-silver ratio. For instance, in the case of a COMEX breakdown and an all-out rush for physical metal, the panic that this would then generate would be severe, particularly given that silver's highly financialized paper contract system would see so many contracts all fighting for the same ounce of metal. Given the greater supply of future contracts for silver and the potential for a real short squeeze, it seems plausible that this could lead to a vast outperformance of silver versus gold in such an alternative scenario. Now, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think the gold-silver ratio could go. Well, here we can see it in this chart, and we can see that the chart suggests that potentially there could be the possibility of silver going to a 25-to-1 spike. Here's our summary for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.